I'll say one more thing about EMS, and then I'll move off that subject. There, that field of work, gosh, yeah, I think it's really only for adrenaline junkies. It's a special calling, right? You either have it or you don't. I think what it is it's like a energy signature. There's something about the person that's just going to fit into that position or not. It's not for everybody. Now, I had a student one time. We went on this call in Burbank, and this guy was smoking Mojo. Now, those that don't know what Mojo is, it's fake weed. Fake weed makes people do some crazy stuff. And look, even the police officers that I was working with, we'd all go in and say, please quit smoking this fake. Get the real stuff. Dude, something. People don't do this on the real stuff. And they would flat out argue when you're not even having a conversation about the curtain color. And they're like, my curtains are purple. And we're like, we're not even talking about your curtains. You see what I'm saying? Like crazy. But anyway, this guy, naked guy, went up in a store off of Burbank. I won't go into detail because I'm not sure if he's still alive. So I don't want to go into great detail. But anyway, basically he came out and he got hit by a car and then another car and then another car and then another car. It was not pretty. When a pedestrian is struck and run over, not just by one car but multiple cars, I'll leave that to your imagination. It leaves a major mess. It's not something that's natural to see either when you see body parts everywhere, Well, I had a student and it was her first shift. And so it was a DOA. Obviously, we call the coroner. We get back in the truck, and I turned. She was sitting in the jump seat. And the jump seat is the seat that, when you watch TV and you see the ambulance and they have the stretcher and there's a seat behind it, that's the jump seat. Well, the jump seat spins around and can face forward so they can see out the windshield. So she was sitting in the jump seat, and I turned around and I said, are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm okay. I said, well, hear me out. You're not going to be okay tomorrow. You're going to be probably confused with what you feel because there's really not a feeling that goes with this. And it can be confusing because when you see something like that, and this applies to everybody, when you witness something like that, your mind's like, nope, that's not natural. And so you don't just process it and it's gone. It has this weird effect on the subconscious mind. This is everybody in public service that has worked in areas like this or worked any terrible calls. They know what I'm talking about. And if you don't talk about it or you don't do something about it, it's going to surface. Trust me, I know. And it will be in ways like short-tempered, angry for no reason, tired, detaching, pulling away from people, and you don't even know why you're doing it. And the reason you're doing it is because your mind just went through a trauma and your mind's over here trying to deal with that and you're trying to deal with your life and you're not meeting in the middle. So I told her, I said, you're not gonna be okay tomorrow, and I'm being honest with you, and I need you. I don't think she was supposed to be on my truck the next day. I said, I'm gonna need you to call me tomorrow and just check in with me. Just trust me. And let's just talk through it. That's called debriefing, right? Debriefing is just, when you talk through something, think of it like an energy thing too. You're releasing it. It's a good thing. You don't want to hold it in. So I said, I want you to check in with me tomorrow, and if I don't hear from you, I'm going to call you. She said, okay. Well, we got back to the station. We ran that call about 11 o'clock at night, and 1:30 in the morning, she's gone. That was it. She went through all of that school. She was not a basic EMT student. She was a paramedic student. She went through all that school and all that training to walk off and leave it all behind. And she said, nope, that's not for me. I can't do it. And I said, you know what? That's okay. I said, you know what? It's a good thing you experienced this now, so you can have a clear decision, because everything happens the way it's supposed to. And you're sure of your decision now. And she said 100%. She said, I don't even want to see a hospital. I just want to go home. And so we ended up, me and my partner and the CISD team, working with her for a couple of weeks, because can you imagine, like, we were used to seeing stuff like that. Not her. That was, 1 minute you're eating a sandwich and the next minute you're picking up a leg and a spine. And then how do you say that that's okay? Like, it's not for any of us. And for people who've been there 30 years, I don't care who you are and how long you've been there. There's no way that stuff doesn't affect you, because it's part of the programming. We're not programmed for that to be okay. Now, what does happen, because, it happened to me, you do get used to violence. You get used to seeing certain things. But my point is, there's no way to just accept it as normal. That's not how we don't function that way. So regardless of how long somebody's been with their department, they need to follow the same rules. And what's really, rules meaning discuss it, talk about it. What's really tough about public service is the majority is they're type A personalities. They're not going to want to talk. They don't want to open up, because then you're going to look weak. And, the worst part, I know for me, was if you have a call that really bothers you, but your partner's not bothered. That's just, that's rough. That didn't happen very often, but yeah. One of the worst, two of the worst calls I ran, and the only reason I'm sharing this is because people always ask me that, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? It's actually not the worst thing that you've ever seen that bothers you. It's what you feel. But I was on a code 1, no lights and sirens, psych patient. He threatened suicide, but seemed like the scene was stable. We get to the scene. He's in the house. We were outside because he's got a gun. We're just, calming him down. But I called him on the phone, talked to him. He's a really nice guy. I said, can you just come outside? You're going to need to put your hands up. The police are going to search you. That's routine, just to make sure everything's okay. And let's just sit and talk, It's going to be okay. Yes, Miss Stacy, I'll be out there. Just give me 2 minutes. Well, 2 minutes go by. He doesn't come out. And I call him back. He's like, I'm sorry, I'll be out. Just really nice. I'll be out there in a minute. I'm just nervous. And I said, it's okay. Look, the sheriff's office is here. These are nice guys. They're not going to throw you down and manhandle you. They understand what you're going through. We're all here, to help you. And he said, I believe that. And so he said, I promise this time 2 minutes. Well, 2 minutes goes by and he's not out. So now we're out there talking about what's the next tactic? Like, what are we going to do? So I went down, it was a trailer park. I went to the trailer next door, and because I knew he was in the back bedroom, and I walked on the other side, to protect myself, just to get a feel for what's going on. Can I see in a window or whatever? Right when I get to the back of it, he comes out the back, puts the gun to his head, and he says, I'm sorry. And I watched this in slow motion, and I heard the shot, and then I saw the blood. And I'm not trying to be gory. If y'all don't like this stuff, fast forward. But I was like, yeah, it's speechless. And everybody on the scene realizes, you know what I mean? Like, you go from thinking you have a code 1 psych patient you're just going to bring to the hospital to now you have a scene. And the shot and all of it, it was to watch that. Probably the worst thing, one of the worst things I've ever been through, because, yeah, well, here's when it gets actually worse. When this guy falls, he falls and his neck's bent. So it's kind of like if you're laying down, like imagine if you're laying in a tub, your head's, kind of, it's not like you're laying flat. And so your head's kind of tilted. So when he fell, the way his head was positioned, was not ideal, because guess what happens? So about, 2 minutes into it, not even that long, I'm checking a pulse and all. Look, you can't put sorry if this sounds gross, you can't put a brain back in somebody's head. So they have brain matter everywhere, and there's no way of fixing that. Unfortunately, when you're on the scene that early, because we already were, then you're having to let the body shut down. Fortunately, his body shut down quickly, or so we thought. You know, my point is you can't put a breathing person in a body bag. Again, if this is gross.